This is the voice of the report of the week, signing on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW, the voice of the report of the week, now signing on for another program. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, hello. How are you? As I mentioned in the last program, I'm trying to not talk directly into the microphone a little bit, have it a little bit to the side here. Hope for the best, right? Hope for the best. Well, hope all is well. Hope everything is doing okay. And here we are. I'm recording at least this first part. Started recording on the very early hours of this Friday past, around close to 3 a.m. Close to 3 a.m., so it's night, of course. And that's when I'm recording this first part, at least. So here it is. Another week gone by, essentially, since I started recording the last one. But it's a bit later, granted. I was recording the last one around 11 p.m. This one, 3 a.m. So, a bit later. And, not all that much has changed, of course. The temperatures are still the same. Early in the week, it was very warm. It was pleasant. Got into the 80s for a couple days. 3 days in a row, I think it did. And then, even yesterday night, it was warm. It was in the 70s at night, and now it cooled down again to the upper 40s. But it's great to be outside at all, really. I was looking actually at the weather maps. Said even as far south as Atlanta, Georgia, it was 28. And farther north, it was in the single digits. So for it to be in the mid 40s, that's strikingly warm compared to everything else. But still, however, I'm wearing the overcoat again. I'm wearing the overcoat, and this time around I've got on some black pants, black shoes, black socks, a white wing collar shirt, the black 4-in-hand knot tie, and then my overcoat buttoned up. That's my attire as I record this. I don't think I'm going to record the whole show in one sitting, but I'm probably going to record an hour or so of it. Yes, another VORW. Some people were quite surprised, believe it or not, to see a VORW come up simply a week later. And they were saying, I'm shocked, I didn't expect to see one this fast, but my word stands true. And I will say the quota that has been established for the letters is really the main driving force for it. So congratulations, it's back. The ORW is back on the regular. That's great. Great news. Great news for everyone. And, well, that's really what's going on. Have there been any major developments over the course of the week? For me, not particularly. Maybe for you. Maybe this was a life-changing week. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just another week. Not a ton happened. Maybe it was a average week. A little bit happened. Nothing too significant, though. Who knows? Hopefully it was a good week, though. I hope it was. Certainly hope it was. And assuming this is uploaded on a Sunday, well, I hope your weekend has been going well. Or I hope it was well. I hope so. Mine has yet to happen, but I figure it'll be a pretty good one. So, another week down. I guess now we can consider it mid-December, starting to get into late December. Not quite, though. I figure once we get past December 20th, then it's officially late December. Or at least Christmas season, as they all call it. But yeah, now we're probably in mid-December. Mid-December. And, it's going. I mean, again, Christmas stuff. Christmas lights. Christmas decorations, Christmas music. I talked about it in the last show. There was one thing of note that I did take a gander at. Obviously, a lot of places, no matter where you're located, a lot of people are in the Christmas spirit. As a matter of fact, a few people said they find my lack of Christmas spirit depressing. And no matter what, though, I think a lot of people really are in the Christmas spirit, and that's understandable. But I was looking, because a lot of houses, and as I was getting into this, no matter where you're located, okay? North, south, east, west, other countries even, especially the U.S., though, maybe even, especially the U.S., I mean, it's a big thing here. Christmas lights, everyone loves them, everyone's got to get them up, and they got to get a lot of them up. And there's this one house I took note of that they have a elaborate, I'd consider it elaborate, Christmas decoration in their yard. I remember, well, I'll get to that after the fact. But they have a very elaborate decoration, you know, they have those little hanging lights, of course, on the entire house. Every surface of it is covered. They have all the lawn ornaments. They have all the fake reindeer, the little manger set up. They got the fake snowmen. They got all the trees decorated. They got little lights lining their driveway, you know. I think you see, when you drive around, especially if you're in a somewhat... If you're in a city, you can go to the suburbs, you'll see it too. If you're in the country, you'll see it. You're in suburbs, you'll see it especially, but no matter what. You drive around, and you'll always see there's one or two houses that just go all out for Christmas, you know. So many decorations. I remember when I was young, there was one house, wall-to-wall decorations in their yard. I kid you not, every space in their yard was filled with a decoration. There was so many lights, so much light. They lit up the whole neighborhood. There was another house that actually had a micro-power AM transmitter, an AM radio transmitter set to a frequency, probably in the extended AM band, but they had a micro-power AM transmitter in their yard. So while you would go by their house, you could tune your AM radio to this frequency, and it'd be playing Christmas music 24/7. That's crazy. So there was one house that did that. I mean, you know, there's always one or two houses that just go above and beyond, and really just go full out for Christmas. Well, this is kind of one of those houses, you know, there's lots of decorations. And you can see it did take some time. I mean, you can't hook up all these lights, you know, you can't just hook them up and string them around and, you know, organize it to make it not only effective, but aesthetically pleasing at the same time. You can't do that in 5 minutes. It'd be nice, and you could have the decorations that everyone will slow their car down and gawk at and take pictures of, whatever. But that takes a lot of time. And effort, and money, because not only do you have to buy the lights, you gotta end up paying the electric bill too. Well, it sounds like a good initiative, you know, they got all the lights, and you name it. You name it, they got it. Well, here's what ruined it for me. You ever see one of those houses with the Christmas lights? Have it set on a timer, you know, so the lights will kind of flash on and off every now and then, like every 10 seconds or so. Well, this is one of those houses. They have this huge elaborate decoration, but they just set the timer the lights flash on and off every second. Boom, 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 on and off, on and off, on and off, like the lights on a police car or something, just constant. And then sometimes it just flashes. One part will flash, and it's insane, and it hurts to look at. Really, I feel so bad for the neighbors of them. I feel bad for them, really. You know, looks like the lights are just having a seizure. It's horrible. I mean, no offense with that. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing. I swear, I could probably give someone an ocular seizure of the sort. Awful, awful. So, it's a pity to see that, really, because all I can think of is all the time they invested into that, all the money they invested into that, all the money they're paying for that, and how it's all just going to waste. Because I think it's a terrible decoration. I know it's not the only one in the world that does that. There's plenty of others that are doing a similar thing. I don't know what their idea is. It attracts attention, yes, but is it a good type of attention? I couldn't say. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to VORW, the voice of the report of the week. To continue on with this, I remember back as a young blood, as a youngster. I sometimes called, when I'm young, I call myself a young blood. Anyway, I remember I never really had too many Christmas decorations. We would sometimes have these little net Christmas lights, kind of put them on some of the bushes out front. No, good times, you know. I come to realize, now granted, it depends on how you look at the holiday, but this is simply looking at it. I just remember, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, no matter what you really see in Christmas, if it's still the gift-giving that you like, if you like the religious aspects of the holiday, if you just like, you know, the warm, fuzzy feeling you get on Christmas, if you still believe in Santa, if you like putting up the decorations, seeing the decorations, looking at Christmas lights, there's some definition there too, or thereof. You know, I think no matter how you see Christmas, one thing that I think a majority of people can agree on is that Christmas just felt a lot more special when you were young. I don't speak for everyone here, but it's just a consensus I've seen, and one that I can agree with. I mean, when I was young, yeah, you're still like 12 years old, review bro. No, I'm not. When I was young, I know I'm not, you know, anyone to be defined as old, but by young I mean a child. When I was young, I remember December was such a special month. As soon as Thanksgiving passed, December started. It was such a special month to me. It really was. It was such a wonderful month it was. Such a special month. I'd be filled with so much joy. And I would count down those days. I couldn't wait for Christmas. I couldn't. I really couldn't. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Probably the two favorite days of the year as a child. And I also look forward, of course, to getting time from school off. You know, got the nice winter break. And I would look so forward to it. I really would. I would remember Christmas morning, wake up, I would just charge downstairs. Under the tree there would be the gifts, and it'd be such a fun day, but, you know, times change, of course. That's fine. If you're wondering what I'm I don't want anything for Christmas. I specifically said that I want 0 items, nothing. So that's how it's gonna be. And, you know, maybe I'll write a few Christmas cards, send them out, but that's it. You know, but times change, and that's how it is, and that's fine. That's fine. I don't want any gifts for Christmas. You know? I don't. That's just how it goes. Just how it is. But it was fun, you know. It was fun while it lasted, and as I said, things change. That's how it goes. But good memories, you know. Good little things to reminisce upon, and that's what we got. Some good news, if you might consider this a Christmas gift. I'm doubtful, but maybe a few of you will. If you're interested, I bring you an update on the VORW shortwave situation. So if you like shortwave radio and you like listening to it, and you like listening to stations on it, maybe this is a little Christmas gift, a little early Christmas gift. But the good news that I bring is that VORW will be back on the air. It's official. Payment is going through tomorrow. VORW is going to be back on the air. And it's going to be via a longtime provider of transmissions, radio station WBCQ. It's going to be every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on 7490 kilohertz. It's going to be a weekly show, and it's going to be a fun one. Going to be fun. Going to have miscellaneous discussion, a lot of music. I'll take requests. I'll give out QSLs, and it'll be a fun time. And I have enough money. I got 3 broadcasts, so it'll be starting on the 22nd, this Thursday, 7490 kilohertz at 8 p.m. Eastern. Stay tuned for that. If you're in North America, good chance you'll hear it. Maybe even if you're in Europe, maybe you'll get lucky. You'll be able to hear it too. And we'll see from there. We'll see how things go from there. If I have the money to be able to, to continue it on. Because unfortunately, the way AdSense goes, it fluctuates. It's not a stable source of income. Some days you'll make good money. Some days you make nothing. Well, not nothing, but barely anything. And I've been able to scrape some money aside and be able to fund some broadcasts, and we'll be able to see how things go, how they're received. Number one, I'm not going to ask for anything, because I have to see how the broadcasts even turn out first, If the transmissions themselves, I have 3 broadcasts, so it'll be on the 22nd, then the next Thursday, and then the next Thursday, and then I'll have to send another payment again. But we're going to have to see how well they're received, If the broadcasts barely propagate at all, meaning if you can't hear them anywhere, then there's no point to continue on with them. But if they're well received, if listeners in North America can hear them, and there's fair to good listener response, then we'll continue them, and we'll see about extending them a bit. If not, maybe we'll switch to a different transmitter provider, maybe in Europe, and we'll see. But as of now, the VORW show will be back on shortwave on 7490 kilohertz every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Alright, that's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 7490 kilohertz. So, I'm going to talk about that more during the shortwave segment, and we'll see about that. And, I wish you all the best. I wish you good reception conditions, and, your thoughts on the program are interested. But during the shortwave segment, I'll let you know how you can listen, and I'll let you know other ways to listen if you're not a fan of shortwave radio. You can still listen to the programs. And one word of note, there will be no change to the rate of online VORW shows being produced. There won't. That's the good news. You know, I'd be working on the VORW shows online probably from Friday to Sunday. Probably record. This is how I've been doing it so far. Record the online VORW show mostly Friday and Saturday, edit it on Sunday, and then upload it either Sunday or Monday. The radio VORW show, since it's not and it's only an hour, it's not an hour of constant talk. There's music. Sometimes I add a news broadcast in the beginning. I don't know if I'll be the news reader this time around. Sometimes I like to start the shows off with some news headlines. I don't know if I'll be the news reader or if I'll take a news broadcast that's available for transmission from the BBC or another organization. We'll see. But I mean, you have that, you have music played, and it's easier to record, you know? So that's what we got. That's what there is. Let's see how long. Hope it's been recording. I'm gonna freak out if this recorder isn't working. No, it is. Okay, good. 22 minutes on the button. Great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I'm going to briefly pause the recorder. I don't know why I'm saying that. I could have just stopped it and started it again, and you wouldn't even know. I'm briefly going to pause it for a second, warm my hands, think of anything else, if there is anything to talk about, and if not, we'll continue into the shortwave segment. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Alright, and continuing on, I don't have a ton to talk about, really. I mean, from week to week, you know, sometimes you're filled with so many things you want to talk about, and sometimes you're not. It all fluctuates on how busy the week was, etc., etc. But around 3 things I want to cover. First and foremost, for those of you who remember, for the longest time, I worked on this one story called The Regression of Life. I'm working on it again, but I'm utilizing what I'm doing this time around. Instead of adding to the story right now, I'm going to add more, granted. Instead of adding to it, I'm simply rereading the story, and paragraph by paragraph, I'm tearing it apart. Now, that sounds bad, but what it means is I'm simply editing it. Improving the vocabulary, the descriptions, making a better flow of the language. That's all that I mean by that. The story's identical. I'm just improving it a bit. So I'm just editing it now very vigorously. Then once I get through it all and do that, I'm going to add more to it. And then I'm going to redo the whole thing. Go back to the front to what I already edited. Read it over. Edit it again. Go through it, then add more. Once I reach a little block, then I'll go back, edit it once more, add more, and I'll keep doing that and doing that over and over and over until eventually I'm done with it. And then it'll be a finished story, all good to go. Probably about 100 or maybe even 200 pages, who knows how long it'll be. But that's where that stands, my little story there. So I'm editing it now. And theoretically, I could probably reread the edited version to you all one day, since it will be somewhat different, just in terms of how it's worded. And number 2, a word to the wise. When I've gone out and about lately, believe it or not, Every single time I've gone outside in public, I've gotten recognized. Every single day this week. Sometimes even twice, I have gotten recognized. I don't know if there's just a lot of people that watch these videos around here, or if there's more people that watch this crap than I think. One or the other. But a word to the wise, if you ever do see me in public and you want to say hi, just approach me, just say hello. If you want a picture with me, just come up and ask me. I'll gladly oblige. I'll gladly take a picture with you. You know? I'll gladly say hello. I'll even stop and talk for a minute. It's fine. Just, I know you might, if you ever did see me, you might, I don't know, get maybe anxiety. You know, you might want to take a picture with me. You might want to say hi, but you don't really know how. Well, just go up to me and say it. It's fine. Nothing's gonna happen. The only reason I mention that is, as I said, I've gotten recognized a lot this week. I saw this one kid. He was a kid. He was around 14, 15 years old with his grandpa. And sure enough, there I saw him trying to take a creep shot of me. Wasn't that something? And I thought, what nerve of him to do that. Anyway, I thought that was just unnerving, and I figured, it'd be much better if he just came up, asked for a picture. I gladly would have taken one, in good lighting too, But anyway, and so that's my little story there. Rule of thumb, if you ever see me in public and you're sure that it's me, just come up, say hi, ask for a picture if you want one. That's totally fine. I'll be happy to help you out, and that's what we got there. But I mean, it is what it is. That's all. And finally, a review of the latest uploads to the YouTube channel, and then after that we're going to talk about some shortwave stuff, but most importantly, how you can hear the VORW show on shortwave. So December 12th, the McDonald's Mac Jr., which was allegedly just a glorified cheeseburger with Mac sauce, but it also comes with some lettuce and a bigger patty too, but that's what it really is. Speaking of McDonald's, I'll be honest, I've really taken a liking to their McDoubles. Those things are good. Their McDoubles, they're quite good. Cheap too, just, a little bit over $1. Get 2 beef patties, slice of cheese, some onions, pickles, ketchup and mustard, and did I mention already a slice of cheese on the bun? I get, 2 of them. Very filling, 2 beef patties, very good. It does its job. So if you're ever at McDonald's, don't have a lot of money, I recommend the McDoubles, because they're actually pretty good. You get them real quick. You can eat them quick, but they are filling. Yes, they are. They're good. That's all I can say about them. They're good. The Mac Jr. was okay, too. Not that messy. I wouldn't get it again, though. I'd either get a Big Mac or a McDouble, really. That's what I would get. And then the 15th, that was yesterday. I'm sure there will be another review uploaded before I get this up, but the Taco Bell AM Crunch Wrap was reviewed. I originally, on that day, I wanted to review Little Caesars, but then I thought, oh, well, I'm up early. Heck, let's just go and let's review some breakfast food. So, Taco Bell breakfast. Right there, a wholesome meal from Taco Bell. And that's what we have there. And, who knows? I know Checkers is coming out with something new, but no one cares about Checkers. I don't know, every time I review them, the reviews never do that well. I guess no one cares about Checkers. well, maybe I'll review them. Maybe not. Maybe something else will come along. Who knows? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, coming up next, we're going to talk about shortwave. Hopefully something that'll be a little more interesting to everyone is we'll discuss how you can listen to the VORW show via shortwave radio, and you don't need a receiver, a radio of your own to listen. I'll give you tips, if you do have a radio of your own, how to ensure the best quality signal. And if you don't have a radio, I'll give you ways which you can listen as well if you want that analog sound, or if you want a digital recording, I'll tell you how you can listen with that as well. And then after that, we might discuss a few more miscellaneous topics, and finally, we will read some letters. Given our quota, we will read a few letters, around 20 or so, and that'll be a wrap. Thank you for listening so far, ladies and gentlemen. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, the international voice of this YouTube channel, the Report of the Week, available online and soon on shortwave across the world. Thank you for listening. We now continue with the shortwave segment. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Good evening, dear listeners. Good day, good morning, good afternoon. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, and this is now the shortwave radio segment. Well, as I introduced earlier, there's really one main thing I want to talk about this time around, and that's how you'll be able to hear the VORW broadcasts on shortwave. And there's several ways to do it, and I think maybe even the day after this is uploaded, I may make a video briefly discussing, also for anyone who doesn't listen to the VORW shows in full, how they can listen as well, but better to go overkill than to give too little information in my view. And before we get to that, and other miscellaneous shortwave news, nothing really happened, nothing really changed. To all of you who wrote in to Radio Australia, thank you so much. Every voice helps. There's currently a petition going around to call upon the chairman of ABC and what have you to continue shortwave broadcasting, and it's been going well. First, they only needed 100 signatures. They got that. Then it went to 200. They got that. Now it went to 500, and they're well on their way to get that too. But I know petitions really aren't that effective, but if it's one further way to show either what a bad decision they're making, or how many people will be impacted, or that a lot of people will get screwed by their decision, well, more power to them. They got a signature from me, for sure. And for the heck of it, I'll link the petition in the comments, or the description maybe. If you're interested, go for it. If petitions aren't your kind of thing, or you don't care, that's fine. That's your call, and that's your decision, and that's up to you. But I'll leave it there for those who are interested. And, it's a shame, but with shortwave radio, a lot of the times, unfortunately, we take these stations for granted, and you don't know what you've got, till it's gone, till they shut down. And that's a shame, I wish I listened to Radio Australia more. I really feel bad for the people that rely on Radio Australia. Most of all, I know I can survive, If I lose Radio Australia, it'll be one less real good station to listen to, and it'll be such a shame. But the people that are really going to be impacted are those who don't even have an internet connection to voice their dissent and their opinions, and the ones that rely on Radio Australia for weather updates and news, and just to find out if a cyclone is going to hit and where it's going to hit, and rely on that potentially life-saving info. They're going to be the ones that are going to be hurt the most, and it's such a shame. A pity, really is. Let's hope they wisen up, and I'll give you all updates on Radio Australia Remember, though, if you're in North America and you want to listen, 9580 is the frequency to hear Radio Australia. And if you're in Europe, 12065, that's 12065, that's the frequency to hear them over there. But if they do shut down, if I were the chairman of Radio New Zealand International, because the problem is that their transmitter is weaker powered than Radio Australia, and they have another transmitter just laying around, not doing anything. If that transmitter hasn't been scrapped yet, I would combine the two, because you can do that. You can take, say, 100, you have two 100 kilowatt transmitters lined up. You can hook up the two, and you can get one big 200 kilowatt transmitter to increase the power. You can hook them together. So if I were the chairman of Radio New Zealand, that's what I would do. I would hook up these two smaller transmitters and get a higher powered one out of it, and really blanket the Pacific with the coverage and market the station as, the last comprehensive source of info to the Pacific should Radio Australia actually shut down. And really advertise, to the listeners that are now out of luck from Radio Australia, give them another source to listen to. And we'll see. We'll just see. I'll keep you all updated, and hope for the best, right? Hope for the best. Now, here's what probably everyone's more interested in: how to be able to hear the VORW show on shortwave. Because if you might have just clicked on this segment, so I'll give a brief recap. The VORW show, starting this Thursday, the 22nd, will be on shortwave radio, and you will be able to listen via your own shortwave radio or via several online shortwave radios, or you could even listen via a web stream as well if you want that digital audio quality. So I'm going to give you several ways to listen. I'll provide a link to a video too, which also tells you if you're interested, and we will go from there. So let's start. As a background, the VORW show has been on shortwave before. I'm going to be back on the air for at least 3 shows, and after that runs out, if people are willing to fund the show, it'll cost $35 per program. I think Patreon now has an ability to actually give immediate donations, so if people are willing to fund it, then I'll continue week by week until there's no more funding left, and that'll be that. Or if we don't get the $35 after these 3 shows, well, we'll take what we get and maybe move to a lower powered station, maybe in Europe at $15 an hour, and go from there, or we'll just leave the airwaves altogether. And no matter what, though, we got at least 3 shows scheduled, so that's good news. Good news indeed. It's going to be scheduled every Thursday via WBCQ at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 p.m. Eastern, so you can change the time accordingly to your own time zone, but it will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's going to be on 7490 kilohertz, 50 kilowatt transmitter, beamed westward from Maine, but it should provide very good signals into New England, probably parts of Canada, and I've checked different receivers, and it comes in variably across the whole U.S. I mean, it's been heard pretty well, even in, Montana and Colorado, California, Arizona, good there. Been received here in Florida pretty good. Mid-Atlantic, Midwest. It fades in and out, and it comes in better in some parts of the country, but it should be received pretty well throughout North America, so that's good news. So now that you know the time, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday, at least for the next 3 weeks, so the 22nd, I think the 29th, and I believe January 5th, you're guaranteed a show on shortwave for an hour. 7490 is the frequency. So now you know the date and time. Obviously, if you have a shortwave radio, that's easy. Turn your radio on at the appointed time, tune it to the appointed frequency, and you'll be good to go, assuming you're in the target area. If you are in the target area and the broadcast doesn't seem to be coming in that good, you can try putting your radio near the window, especially the antenna. Have it right up to the glass, and that might help. If you're outdoors, you'll be fine. If you want, you can use a wire antenna, wrap a little piece of foil around the antenna. That'll sometimes boost the signal. But let's say you don't own a shortwave radio. Let's say, oh, for the heck of it, let's say you don't own a shortwave radio. It just doesn't come in good at your residence. You live in Europe and you have a shortwave radio and it just doesn't come in good. Well, good news. There's several ways to listen. Now, there is an easy way to listen and a hard way to listen, and I think to everyone's sigh of relief, I'll give you the easy way. It's via online, and obviously you need an internet connection to be listening to this program to begin with, so you'll be fine, I'm sure. Here's how you listen online with a digital stream, okay? Maybe it's around 7:55 p.m. Thursday, the 22nd. Here's what you do. Type in to your browser WBCQ.com. That's WBCQ.com. Now you're at the website. You see on the left-hand side there's the little WBCQ logo, the little microphone. In the center says, welcome to WBCQ. To the right, there's a donate button, and you see a couple little links here. Look to the left. You see at the top there, the WBCQ, the logo, in the red and black. Below that, WBCQ, the planet. Go down a little, it says Hot Links. And the first one right there, Listen Live. You see that? Listen Live. Click on it. And now you have your ability to listen to the different web streams. Alright. Now there's several ways to do this, but this is one way, and I'll tell you a second way too. This is if you want to use like an MP3 stream. Now that you're at Listen Live, well, the way to do it is you click on the top link, WBCQ 7.490. There's a little link to the right that says MP3 player. Click on it, and you ought to be good to go. But say you don't want to do that. You don't want to download that crap. You don't want to go through it. Well, that's completely fine, because there's other ways to do that as well. Alright? Not to worry. So there's a second way to listen, which is also equally easy. Go to Google, right? Google.com. And all it takes is a simple Google search. Type in WBCQ TuneIn, TUNEIN. Enter. The first link right there, WBCQ The Planet 7490 AM, Monticello, Maine. Listen online. Click on it. And immediately, by itself, you're going to get the online web feed of digital quality audio from this station, WBCQ. So there it is, it's loaded. All I need to do, turn the speakers on, and there you go. Have some music program going. And that's how easy it is. So it's completely easy, anyone can do it. Truly, I think the easiest way is probably to do it this way, via TuneIn. Extremely easy, all you need is a Google search. But if you want to do it direct from the source, I also said how to do it via WBCQ's website as well. That's if you want the digital audio, but say you want to do it the hard way and you want to listen like you're actually listening on a shortwave radio, right? Well, I have talked about these before, and now you'll get to use one for yourself. Here's what you do. You know, I decided to redo the segment where I would be talking about the web SDRs because I did a bit of thinking, and I looked, and I noted that number one, there's only 3 web SDR receivers in the US which cover this frequency, and none of them really provide good coverage at all. So I thought I really don't want to go through this whole arduous process talking about how these receivers work, only then to give you something that you can't even hear the broadcast good with, and you went through all this trouble listening to it and then doing it for nothing. So instead of using the web SDRs to listen to this, if you want to listen via shortwave but you don't have a receiver, I say with great pleasure, we're going to try out a new type of technology. As a matter of fact, it's almost identical to the web SDRs, but it's called SDR.HU, and they're called Kiwi SDR receivers. They were, hence the name, originally based out of New Zealand, but they've since spread throughout the world. Essentially, they work exactly like the web SDR receivers do. It's just under a different name, and personally, they do one heck of a better job than the web SDR receivers do. I'll tell you that up front. What these Kiwi SDR receivers are, quite simply, because we don't need to go through a long technical explanation here, these receivers would be, it's a special type of shortwave radio which someone has connected to their computer that allows individuals online to be able to tune around through it and listen to what that radio can pick up. So say I have my shortwave radio right here, sitting here in the office, put the antenna by the window, alright, I hook it up to this program. People will now be able to use this receiver, see what it can pick up, they can get a visual of what the signals look like, and they'll be able to hear what the signals sound like in this location. So say there's a receiver on this site that's based in Florida. You'll be able to hear what the signals sound like in Florida. If there's a receiver based in New York, you'll be able to hear what the signals sound like in New York. One in California, you'll hear what it sounds like in California, and vice versa. Now, here's how it works, okay? There is a large number of these Kiwi SDR receivers in the US, and if you take a look here, I've provided all the links that you need, as well as what states they are from. A large number of these are set to pick up the VORW broadcast, and with good signals too, so keep that in mind. So you can pause the video, type in any one of these links, and you'll be good to go. I know they look like sketchy links, I get it. If I didn't know what they were myself, I would say, oh, I bet this is a weird site. I bet it has some virus or something on it. But it's okay, I promise. I promise. The good news is that despite all of these links, every one of these sites is identical in terms of how it works. So it's not like each link works differently and you have to learn 20 different things. No, every single site works the same. So this explanation that I give on how to use it will work for every single site. Okay, with that being said, type in one of those links, you go there, and this is what you get. If you've used a WebSDR receiver, it looks kind of similar to it now, doesn't it? You see that same iconic background with all the little lines on it and the different modes. You see, if you've used a WebSDR before, I think you can quite confidently say it does look quite similar to it. And it is very, very, very easy to use, okay? For those of you who have never used this before, it's still magnificently easy. Looks complicated, it seems complicated, and at times it can be, but for what we're doing here, it's very, very easy to use, okay? So, you can hear, chances are the radio's static. What do? See that little box on the right? Has all these little functions on it. There's AM, AMN, LSB, USB, CW, all these little arrows, magnifying glasses, bars, you name it. All these little functions there. Well, it's quite easy. See that box that says kilohertz to the right of it? You can type something into it. If you look at the little screenshot here, you'll see I marked the box in question. Type in to that box 7490. Press enter. Enter. That'll bring you to the frequency. Then, and I marked it here again, press the button right there on the left that says AM. AM, you press it, and what do you get? A signal. And that's how easy it is. Everything else, don't worry about it. We'll focus on that another day. That's how easy it is to use. You type in 7490 in the box, press AM, and you are absolutely 100% set. And there are so many of these receivers compared to the amount of WebSDR receivers. You will find a signal with these, alright? Say you're playing around with a receiver here in Pennsylvania, you can't really find one. Well, you have a list of 20, 25 more receivers just like this one to play around with, so go to another one that's in New Hampshire, see how it comes in there. Doesn't work out good? Try how one comes in Montana, try out the one in Florida, try out the one in Virginia. You name it. Just go down the list, and guaranteed out of all of them, you'll find several that offer very good signals of 7490 kilohertz. Okay, so keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. And of that being said, I hope this explanation was okay. I think this method, it's new. I've used these receivers before, but I've never really publicly talked about them. So I hope that they work out good for you. And I hope I was able to give a simple and concise explanation of how to use them. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's all that I got for you. Coming up next, in that regard, will be the fan mail segment. And remember, no matter what way you want to listen, there are several ways to do it. The easiest and the highest quality are the digital live streams of it. But if you want to go into something a little more advanced, these Kiwi SDR receivers are the way to go. Shortwave quality, just like you have a shortwave radio, but from your own computer right here. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, the broadcast is at 8 p.m. this Thursday, the 22nd. Hope you'll be around to listen to it, ladies and gentlemen. 7490 is the frequency, 8 p.m. Eastern is the time. And with that being said, we now bring you to the fan mail segment. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. And this is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. And we now begin our fan mail segment, which, of course, has an established quota. For those of you tuning in who haven't really listened to the last two shows, there is one important change which has occurred with the fan mail segment. That being, there is now a quota of letters, meaning per show, I will read roughly 20 letters. 20 letters, perhaps one or two more, one or two less, but almost 20 letters per show. With that being said, that should there be a large excess of letters, so say I get 40 letters, I cannot guarantee that every letter will be read. So if you do wish to write in to the next program, please understand your letter cannot be guaranteed to be read. There is a chance, and a fairly good chance, that your letter will be read, but I cannot guarantee that, so keep that in mind. Now, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin reading the letters which we did receive, and almost all of them will be read, if not all of them. And, well, with that being said, let's take it from there. Actually, before that, let me give you the contact information should you wish to write in to the next program. You can contact me via YouTube, youtube.com/user/report of the week. Click on the About tab. There's a Send Message button. Click on that. Type in the contents of your message and send it off. Or if you're more of an email type of person, you can do it via one of two ways. You can send an email to repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's repweekinterview1, the number 1, @gmail.com. Or you can also write to vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. And do remember, once again, if you do choose to write in, please do not write to me with the expectation that your letter will be read. Yes, there is a chance that it will be read, but please do not come to expect that, as there is a quota established, and the letters will be randomly chosen to be read. Although, say I do receive 15 letters, yes, I will read all 15, assuming all the subject matter in them is appropriate to read. Now, anyway, with that being said, we'll start it off with a nice letter from Brax, who is a very long time listener. He's actually part of the original audience from 2011, and it's great to still have someone from that era still writing in and regularly viewing. Anyway, the letter reads, "Hey John, how's life going in Review Brahland? Hope all is well. I just wanted to write and thank you for the new VORW. Its return has been a most welcome addition and a highlight of my week. I hope the upcoming holiday season won't be too busy and stressful on you. Got any big plans? As always, best wishes to you and your family. Take care until next time, my friend, your old pal Brax." So thank you for writing, and thank you for always listening and sticking with the channel. Things are going good, thankfully. Obviously, things were somewhat turbulent a couple weeks ago with those issues in the family, but thankfully, things have reached a peaceful solution, and that's good to see, at least. And I'm glad you like the new VORWs coming in. If you are interested, of course, you'll have a show via shortwave as well. As I said, it's going to be different from this one. It's going to have music and news and what have you. I'd define it as a light entertainment program, but if that's of interest, I recommend checking that out too. And I'm glad you enjoy it. I don't have any big plans for the holidays, really. I'm not going anywhere, not really doing anything, but have to get some Christmas cards out, send them out, just because that's the most cordial thing to do. But I myself don't have any big plans for the holidays, so I do hope you have a good holiday yourself. Thank you for writing. Our next message. I sent this to you through the YouTube messaging system, but that was my mistake, and I'll make sure that future fan mail goes in your email. I also attached some fan art. Whenever I play video games with my friends, in some servers in this game called Gmod, the game allows users to play YouTube videos, and you can guess we always play yours. It seems like you have fans all across the galaxy, Review Bra. And he also includes the YouTube message, which has been forwarded here. "Hello, I'm a recent fan, and I have really enjoyed your content. Your Idle Minds and podcasts have been what I listen to while I do my homework or leisure, and I also have taken up the hobby of shortwave. My radio just came in today. I ordered the Texan 310 ET, and if I enjoy the medium, I will invest in a better radio in the future. You may have answered this in an older VORW, but what are your favorite stations? I personally enjoy the European politics and world news, so any broadcasts pertaining to that would be great. A point I've wanted to bring up with you was your everyday attire. I personally would like to dress much more formal, but I don't, as the weather here on the West Coast is hot nearly every day, and jeans and a t-shirt seems to be the suit over here. I also have a tight friend group which has many positives, but the negatives are the constant jokes or poking fun of one another. I came to school one day with desert boots, chinos and a light sweater vest, and the constant jokes and questions got to me. I know they shouldn't, but it did, so now I'm stuck with jeans and t-shirts. In either case, keep up the great work, man. P.S. I used to have the same juvenile haircut as well, at a similar age. Well, thank you. And that's great to see that you're actually playing these videos in this game. I've never played this game myself, but it's wonderful to see that. As a matter of fact, that's pretty crazy. Actually, I never thought I'd see my videos there. And thank you very much for your message. I remember when I first started, you know, dressing well, and you know, you're right. I mean, if the West Coast and the East Coast are definitely two different worlds almost in terms of formal wear. You know, in New York, where I grew up, southern New York especially, you'll see people wearing suits all the time, and oftentimes I get criticized on YouTube or whatnot. But suits were a very common sight in New York. You know, you have all the businessmen; they still wear suits even today. Three-piece suits, long overcoats. You know, very formally. You know, just everyone dressed. All the white-collar jobs, all the professionals still wore suits. You know, the doctors, lawyers, salesmen, you name it, all suited up. And there were even people there that wore suits every day still, you know. And I still got some criticism, but it was more accepted. You know, when you wear a suit over there, you're not really sticking out too much. It's just, oh, you're looking professional today. You're looking good today. So I can understand in different parts of the country, it's a bit more, you know, a bit more difficult, you can say, to try to dress a bit spiffier. Now, in terms of shortwave, I'm going to name a site which I really recommend you check out. It's an invaluable resource, okay? Here it is, shortwave.info. That's short-wave.info. Or if it doesn't really come up, you can search it in Google and you'll find the site, short-wave.info. And it's an interactive shortwave schedule. It'll take some time to figure out, but you can see a world map. You can move this little dot to your location. You can search different stations here. You could even, and it tells you the schedule, which stations are broadcasting right now, which frequencies, how the signal should be. And it's really, once you figure out how this site works, it's an invaluable resource, really, when it comes to finding which stations come in best. But if you're interested in politics and you're on the West Coast, I recommend the BBC World Service. I figure a lot of their transmissions to Asia will come in good on the West Coast. See, on the East Coast here, a lot of the BBC World Service's transmissions to Africa make it good. You know, they'll transmit to West Africa, and the signal will bounce right over the Atlantic and come in on the East Coast very nicely. But on the West Coast, a lot of their transmissions probably to Asia in English will make it over the Pacific, and you'll be able to listen to those. They use a lot of frequencies, so I recommend using this site to find the best ones, you know, but you'll hear a bunch. They cover world news, of course, extensively. Radio Australia, while they're still on the air, check 9580 kilohertz in the mornings. They usually come in very well with comprehensive news. If they don't really come in good on that frequency, try out 12085 or 12065. Radio New Zealand as well. They come in pretty good too. And if it's European politics that you're interested in, I don't know how well these stations will come in, but you can look up on this shortwave.info site, Radio France International, Deutsche Welle, Radio Romania International, are a few stations which might come in pretty well. Romania, really, if you're into Eastern European politics, they really cover the news there extensively on that station. They really let you know on all the happenings over in that part of the globe. Radio Ukraine International, too. And there's a bunch. You'll also find some independent European broadcasters, which you might be able to hear. And if reception isn't too well over there, you can try out the web SDRs in other parts of the world. They're really fun to play around with, and it still gives you stuff to listen to, even if the signal at your location doesn't come in the best. If you're interested, again, in world news and politics, China Radio International has some good news. It's from a Chinese perspective, granted, and it might be a little biased in favor of China. Keep that in mind. But they will be guaranteed to come in great on the West Coast. Just scan around and you'll probably hear them. NHK Radio Japan might come in. KBS World Radio South Korea, probably be able to hear. And of course, if you want some real extreme propaganda, you can listen to the Voice of Korea, coming in from, of course, North Korea. They're on a number of frequencies. You'll get to hear some nice I don't know what the word even is to describe it, but some nice North Korean music coming in. And you'll be able to hear stations from all over the globe. I definitely recommend checking these schedules, but definitely a lot of these Asian stations will come in the best, I can say. Thank you very much for your letter, and I did enjoy the pictures you sent, by the way. Thank you for writing. Dearest Review Bra, I'd like to know your thoughts on radio censorship. Are you in favor of censorship? Have you ever heard any profane or vulgar things on shortwave? Thank you, and I hope you're doing well. From Corey. Thank you, Corey. Thank you for writing. Let's make sure we're still recording here, which we are. Great. And thank you for the question, by the way. Radio censorship. Well, it's something that certainly does exist on shortwave. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest users of censorship in a very blatant way is China. They jam a lot of radio broadcasts still. You know, any broadcasts in Chinese really that come from any opposition group are guaranteed to be jammed, essentially. You know, I look at this schedule right now, and the stations such as Radio Taiwan International are continually jammed by China around the clock. The Sound of Hope, which is a station out of Taiwan that broadcasts on many frequencies to China with news from a pro-Taiwan perspective, continually jammed there. Radio Free Asia is jammed, granted. Voice of America is jammed. The BBC World Service is jammed. So China jams a lot of stations, and they'll do it via several ways. They, I mean, number one, they use noise jammers. They'll just completely try to censor the news by, you know, trying to get people, they can't even make it out. They try to jam it with this loud, screeching noise jammer. I don't know if I'll be able to find any examples of it on the air right now, but I'm going to try. Let's see. Are there any Chinese noise jammers coming in on the web SDR here? If there aren't, it's not the end of the world, but there's got to be one somewhere. Almost guarantee it. Well, anyway, if I find one, I'll let you know. But they have the noise jammers that they use most traditionally. What they also use as well in terms of jamming is the China National Radio jammers. And that sounds kind of weird, but what they do is with the station coming in, they'll try to broadcast their own national radio on top of it to try to make it very difficult for listeners in China to be able to even decipher what they can hear, since they have this Chinese station coming in over it. Oh, here's a good example of one of the noise jammers. So let's turn the speakers up and maybe you'll be able to hear it. That's what it sounds like. So it's this loud, you know, metallic sounding noise jammer. And as I said, they also have the China National Radio jammers, which broadcast another station. And then finally, most interesting, There's the Fire Drake jammers, which broadcast Chinese orchestral music over the offending station. I find that pretty interesting. So China really does censor their radio. Cuba does as well. This is, the real blatant cases of censorship. They'll have a noise jammer on top of the offending stations. Of course, radio censorship does exist in the U.S., especially with vulgar and profane comments and songs and what have you. But that really doesn't exist on shortwave over here that much. Some stations like WBCQ, they're free speech stations. They'll broadcast anything. You can drop the F-bomb continuously and they'll play it as it is. They don't censor it, which is pretty neat, I think. I'm not in favor of censorship, at least for the shortwave medium. For more popular types of radio, FM, for instance, I still think they should censor some extreme vulgar songs just for the little youngsters listening. But I think shortwave, you don't really need censorship of, say, profane or swear words, because I think the people who are so young, to which that may cause offense, chances are won't be listening to shortwave radio. So that's my thoughts on that. On to the next. Hey, Review Maestro. Hope the world's been treating you well. Snowing out by you yet? No, it's not. It's not snowing by me yet. The letter continues. Glad to hear VORW's back on. Here's a recent sunset for you, fresh from sunny Southern California. The reviews lately have been great. Any upcoming products you're keeping an eye out for? On a more personal note, just recently had a birthday. I personally like to use my birthdays as an excuse to take a personal day. So I skip work and indulge in all my favorite activities. I'm curious to hear your take on birthdays and the best way to celebrate them. Your friend in Southern California, Alex. P.S. Surf report not looking too good in the near future. Looking forward to the good waves coming from your channel. Well, thank you very much for writing, Alex, and thank you for that picture. Another lovely sunset from Southern California there. Great picture. Well, birthdays, some people, and if you're listening and you have this view, I have nothing against it, but a lot of people have different regard to birthdays. Some see it as a very special day that marks the day you turn a year older than what you already are, and others just see it as another day. And I'm one of those people. I don't really see it as anything special. I don't feel any different on a birthday. So I'm not going to really act any different. But I will say, on a birthday, I'd say the way you celebrate it is probably the way I would. Just take a personal day, sleep in, have a little fun, I wouldn't make it an elaborate, expensive, time-consuming, stressful day. I would just make it as a day where you just take the day off and kind of have a Saturday, on that day. You rest, have a little fun, and enjoy it. Make it your day. I myself don't really hold birthdays in high regard, but should someone be celebrating a birthday, I'll be cordial. I'll wish them a happy birthday, and that's where that stands. Thank you for writing, and thank you for the picture. Dear John, hello, how are you doing? I didn't expect to hear back from you quite so soon. Looks like the new mail system is working well, and I'm very excited for more frequent VORW shows. I finished watching the first day-night cricket test between Australia and Pakistan. Do you watch much cricket? For me, I really enjoy the long 5-day test series. A popular Australian pastime is watching the Australia versus New Zealand Boxing Day. It's December 26th. I'm not sure if this is a public holiday in the States. Test match. I love the pacing of cricket and how relaxing it is to spend whole days being engrossed in a match. But I equally love sports that pitch nation against nation. I failed to mention in my previous letters, but I will be in Japan for New Year's. be overseas for the month of January, and it will be my first journey out of the country. So wondering if there are any fast food chains you would like to be able to try if you were in Japan. I've been very keen to eat at a McDonald's there, as the formalities of Japanese McDonald's are astoundingly different from what we have here in Australia or what you have in the USA. I will endeavor to leave my smartphone and laptop at home while I'm away, but I will try my best to stay up to date with your channel. I wish you a moderately warm Christmas this year. Thanks from Liam. Thank you, Liam. Thank you very much. I've never really watched that much cricket. Let me take a sip of water here. I've never really watched that much cricket, but I knew someone actually who was very big into cricket, and it seemed like an interesting sport. You know, again, I've never really watched it at all, but I knew someone that was a big fan of it. And, well, I hope your trip to Japan goes well. It sounds like a fun time, I'll be honest. There aren't any specific food chains in Japan that I would try. However, I would be pretty interested myself if I were to try out, say, just standard McDonald's or, you know, Burger King or Wendy's or whatever chains from the US are available over in Japan, to try those chains out over there, because I know around the world they have completely different items at these places. So, like you, I'd be very interested to try out these big names and just see how different they are in other parts of the world. And I wish you a moderately warm Christmas as well, and a very Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for writing. Let's continue onward here. See what we got. Our next letter. Dear lecturer, your description of nighttime snowfall was quite evocative and beautiful. Brought me back to a morning in Montreal where I experienced a crisp, sharply clear, dazzlingly bright day where the temperature was so low that the snow crunched, almost squeaked under my boots. The snowbanks were light and airy, like cotton fluff. Just one breath, and you'd think they would blow away. I remember being cocooned in many layers and hyperly aware of my own breathing and the noise my coat made as I moved. The sky was softened, white and blue, and only had wispy trails of cloud here and there. There was no sound, it seemed, not of a bird or animal anywhere. I imagined myself completely alone in the middle of the great city, so for a moment, peace. But, and the reason I was outside came back. Snow steadfastly refuses to shovel itself, and getting to work is a bit of a priority, so I got on and cleaned the driveway. As for Christmas, my memories are of what was going on inside the house, the prepping and cleaning, the expedition to the attic for the ornaments and lights, the organizing of the wrapping paper, tissue, and ribbons, the yearly argument of the correct way to put tinsel on the tree, much discussion of which side of the tree was best and should be faced into the room, who was moving, what to allow the visiting relatives to have the quote-unquote real beds, and the cooking. Dear God, the cooking. Pots and pans filled the stove and the oven for what seemed like days. The phrase, groaning under the weight, would certainly have applied to the cornucopia that was provided, and so many dishes that only made an appearance at this time of year. There were fancy fish soups, things hidden under rich sauces, homemade party mix, and chip dips, buns both sticky and not, vegetables that we never saw the rest of the year, Brussels sprouts, parsnips and artichokes, mincemeat in multiple forms, plum pudding, 2 types of sauce, light and dark fruitcake and jelly salads. To interject, I mean, this is one thing that happened with my family in terms of holidays, you know, for Christmas and Thanksgiving and what have you. It was essentially very similar. A lot of the preparation, lots of cooking, you know, lots of stress, really. And it's amusing that as my folks got older, they eventually just threw in the towel and just said, the heck with it, I'm done. I'm done with this. So now they don't do anything for Thanksgiving anymore, nothing for Christmas. They just go out to a Chinese restaurant, and that's what they do. And honestly, I understand absolutely why, because that's so less stressful, than all of that. Continuing with the letter now. Jelly salads, that's bits of vegetable suspended in green or red gelatinous tube. I admit to developing an aversion to all such anomalies because of this. I could get behind the shrimp cocktail because I have a thing for horseradish, and picking through the nut dish for the best Brazils was fun. Things on crackers and with toothpicks are also a mainstay, and one of my early jobs was was carrying around the serving dish to all the visitors and offering up the delicacies with little themed napkins. I would come across the toothpicks months later in the weirdest locations and would wonder how on earth they got there. That and the nutshell bits that seemed to end up in the platters because the garbage was too far away. One of the strongest memories, though, is the music. Things were somewhat strict. Holiday music was not allowed until the evening of the 24th and stopped on the 6th of January, the feast of the Epiphany. And while modern music was listened to, it's mostly carols and often sung. My favorites still tend to be the ones I'm somewhat able to sing along with, such as Joy to the World is always a bit of a challenge, and I prefer simpler recorded versions, usually just choirs. I remember the first time I attended a carol mass in an actual cathedral. The acoustics were amazing, and they sang Veni, Veni, Emmanuel, and it was rather haunting. Another yearly tradition, once we moved to Montreal, was to attend a performance of Handel's Messiah at one of the downtown churches, and it still remains a favorite piece for the season. I try to listen to it at some point between Christmas and New Year's. Having said that, one of my favorite songs for this time of year is from 1975. It's I Believe in Father Christmas by Greg Lake of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And, oops, looks like it's that time again to wrap it up before we get to that Dear God stage again. I can just ramble on, can't I? And I've not even mentioned a fraction of the nonsense rolling around in my head this week. There I go, stomping on your good nature again. Well, here we are again, the final wrap-up, so what do I have to say this week? You really are rather nice to put up with this silliness, and believe it or not, I've been improving. Heck, I've even been able to make small talk with my coworkers in an attempt to build congenial relationships. For me, this is a big step and helps improve my working environment, so it's a plus. How does it tie into you? By being resolved to be yourself and not change to suit society or for financial gains, you set an admirable example. I can follow this example, be true to myself, and still interact pleasantly and build rapport. I don't need to rely on a facade to deal with the world, so thank you. Be good to yourself, as always, from Jackie. Well, thank you very much for writing, and thank you for your letter. Always great to hear from you. And thank you for your kind words, by the way. And that's interesting about the music, really. A lot of those are classics, in the sense. And Handel's Messiah, a great piece right there for the holiday season as well. Thank you very much for writing. Thank you for your letter. And to wrap up what we have here in the Rep Week in Review 1 email address, we have this letter. It reads, actually, to leave everyone in suspense, I'll take a sip of water and then we'll read it. There we go. It reads, Hello, John. Hope you're having a great day or night, depending on the time of day you're currently reading. I'm having a good night. Now it's very late at night, early morning, though it's still dark out, 5:50 a.m., but still darkness outside. I just wanted to say I enjoy your work, and I'm hooked on your reviews and VORWs. I'm always so excited to listen to your newest VORW. Once I have free time, I'll crank up the volume, switch into some more comfortable clothes, sit on my bed and start playing some video games and mute the music and sound effects, of the game and listen away. My question to you is, what's your favorite theme park or amusement park? My girlfriend and I recently went to Disneyland in California for her birthday. It was the first time going to Disneyland, and I had a great time. Last time I went to an amusement park was the graduation night of my senior year in high school. However, it's been some time since then. And my other question for you is, do you know any other languages? Well, thank you for writing. Thank you for your question. And I'm not really too big into theme parks, but my answer is I can easily answer that one. My favorite is Disney World in Florida. And of all the parks there, I'd say Epcot is my favorite. It's very fun. A lot of the rides are not only interesting, but they can also be somewhat intellectually stimulating, which for an amusement park is a rarity. But those are always fun. The ride at Epcot, what's it called? Spaceship Earth, I think. The one with the that's in that giant sphere. That's always my favorite one. You know, you get essentially a little history tour there. Soarin', that's always a fun one too. Soarin', that's a great ride. The test track too, that's amusing. And always going around the you know, seeing all the little pavilions from around the world is always fun too. You know, you get to hear some authentic music from the places. It's like traveling around a little bit. Get to try some food from the different countries, and it's always fun. It's a bit overpriced, granted. Fairly recently, I went over to the Italy pavilion at Epcot, and I tried a pepperoni pizza there for $20. $20 for a you know, a small pie. Isn't that a ripoff right there? Anyway, it was very good, you know, authentic brick oven pizza, but I wish they put more pepperoni on it. That's my complaint. That's my complaint. And then, of course, the other Disney park is the Magic Kingdom. That's for granted, but that's more, you know, if you just want to go on rides, you know. But Epcot by far is my favorite there. And to answer your other question, in terms of other languages, I'm not ashamed to admit it, but I'm completely inept when it comes to learning a language. I mean, I lack the mental capacity to learn one. That's the sad fact of the matter. I just don't have, because learning a language requires brute memorization. And unfortunately, I can't remember it. You know, I can't. I mean, it's hard enough. I find all these interesting words in the English language. I try to add that to my vernacular, and sure enough, I end up forgetting half of them. Some of them do stick, but I end up forgetting half of them, and that's a language that I'm fluent in. So imagine trying to learn another language. I tried to learn Spanish because it was mandatory in high school. So in grade 7, 8, 9, 10, I think even 11, tried to learn Spanish, and it was 5 years completely wasted. You know, some of the teachers were terrible too. Though my last Spanish teacher, great guy, great teacher. I wasn't a fan of the subject matter, but he knew how to teach. He did a good job, made it fun, and I did manage to pass all the classes, but you know, none of it really lingered or held on. You know, I know a few words here and there, but I can't speak any other languages fluently. You know, if I were to listen to Radio Marti or Radio Havana, Cuba, I'd know a few words here and there, but I wouldn't really, you know, I'd probably be able to understand at least the subject matter, you know, what they were talking about, but I wouldn't be able to know word for word or anything like that. I couldn't, you know, I've lost my knowledge of conjugating verbs and all of that. It's a shame. I wish I could learn languages, but, you know, oh well, right? Thank you for writing. We now move on to VORW info. @gmail.com. So let's see what we have here. Okay. Hi, John. Just wanted to send out my condolences regarding Australia's shortwave station. I really feel for the islanders that use this tool as their only source of news. On another note, there are a few things I was curious about, and are wondering if you can give any insight to the listeners. Are there any foods or condiments that you are picky about or just despise? I know you're not too keen on mayo. Well, I'll answer the questions one by one. Mayo is probably the one condiment that I'm a little picky about. If they put too much, if they put a little bit on, I'll let it go. But if there's too much mayo, you know, that's really the one condiment that I really have a problem with. If they put way too much of it, that I don't like it, you know. So that's really the one condiment that I have a problem with. Question 2, if you can travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? That's a good question. I mean, it'd be, that's very tough. I'd probably maybe go on a tour of Europe. That would be always fun to do. Question 3, I found there's a cookout in Maryland, and it's 180 miles from New York. I lived in Nashville for 4 years, where one of their restaurants is located. And since I've moved back to Texas, I think about it at least once a week. It would be great to see a review again, or it'd be great to see a review with any one of their many menu items. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you've checked this or not. Let me search. Let me go to my channel right now. Sorry, I'm not logged into the account, so it's not as easy to. And let me type this up. I've reviewed Cookout before. Maybe I hope we're talking about the same place. Cookout. I've done a few reviews of their items, actually. I reviewed one of their meals. I reviewed their banana pudding milkshake, and I reviewed their chicken nuggets. So I recommend searching Cookout in my video collection, and see if this is the same place we're talking about, and if it is, you got a few reviews right there. Unfortunately, I'm not really near a Cookout right now, but if I'm near one again, I'll get a review done of Cookout. And he concludes the letter. Anyway, it's good to hear you going strong, and I can't wait to hear more quality content. P.S. If you like looking into random reviews of different items, may I suggest Cigar Obsession on YouTube. I'm not much for smoking cigars, but the reviews are very relaxing and classy. Thanks, Trey from Texas. Thank you for writing, Trey, and thank you very much for that, and thank you for the channel recommendation. Cigars are always interesting. And yeah, so check out those Cookout reviews, and let me know if we're on the same page there, and if those are the same ones, let me know if there's something you'd like to see reviewed, and maybe if I find myself near a Cookout, I'll give it a go. Okay. Let's continue on here. Hey John, I'd written a few times on YouTube, but it was in between the shows and there was no quota. And then, of course, a quota on viewer mail. So I have no idea if you read my previous emails. Anyway, no need to revisit any of them, but I'm hopeful to contribute to your channel in a small way. So it's with the determination of a buck-toothed child eating a corn on a cob that I'll try to come up with a name for your unnamed drink series. I'd previously suggested, hello everyone, this is Report of the Week, the Last Straw review. I then saw that you can make sure that it's in every review if you use the straw. Either way, either you didn't read it or the response was, well, crickets. No problem, review bra, they can't all be winners, so now I write suggestion 2. Hello everyone, this is Report of the Week, Sip of the Day Drink Review. I realize this might not be the name that gets me into the record books, but I will continue with the determination of a cross-eyed child staring into a telescope to help you name this series. From Matt. Matt, thank you. And thank you for your contribution. And then he adds on, sorry, scratch the last suggestion and change it to, hello, this is Sip of the Week, Drink Review. Thanks from Matt. Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you for your suggestions. And, can't guarantee they'll make it into the record books, but thank you very much. And, hey, you never know. Thank you for writing. 2 letters. Dear Review Brah, discovered you on the Facebook feed. Someone posted your review of the BK 89-cent pancakes. And since then, I've been a fan of your reviews. I now support you on Patreon, and have found myself 3 times in the last 2 weeks convincing my wife or my friends to get some of the items you reviewed positively. I also enjoy the VORW shows, and I've been listening in their entirety. I am the 5%. So, the reason I'm writing, I have a suggestion. The 5% of us who listen until the end need a name, maybe the faithful 5% or something like that. Could be fun to only mention this reference during the sign-off of the VORW show, sort of like an Easter egg at the end of the VORW. Anyway, keep on keeping on. Love the channel. Well, thank you very much. And that's an interesting suggestion right there. The faithful 5%, right? It actually has a little bit of a catch to it, so thank you for that. Maybe we'll see about an implementation of that. And finally, let's see. 1 letter left. Here we go. Dear Review Brah, I was wondering why you don't buy more time on WBCQ or WRMI instead of trying to get time on stations that don't respond to you. Guessing you're referring to the Armenian station on VORW number 134. For what it's worth, I discovered you on shortwave, and it may not matter much, but I and many others like your style. It's quite refreshing. Well, thank you very much for that letter. And obviously, to answer the question, in this show previous, you can see there was a big update, and because the Armenian station never got back to me, as a matter of fact, they were supposed to be selling airtime also via Sri Lanka now. I hoped that would be a nice way to get to Asia, but the guy never got back to me. I was willing to give him some good money for it, too. So instead, I took the money I was going to pay to him for a single broadcast to Asia from Armenia or Sri Lanka, and I put it to WBCQ, like you said, and sure enough, BCQ, they got right back to me. They said, hey, welcome back to the planet, you're a good customer, we're going to give you a little discount too, and we're going to give you a nice prime slot of airtime on 7490 every Thursday night at 8 p.m. if that's what you're interested in. And I said, absolutely, I'll take it. So I paid them, and now I'm going to be on WBCQ for 3 weeks, and hopefully it'll be longer than that, but, keep the fingers crossed. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but if it does, it does. So I'll be back on WBCQ 7490, 8 p.m. every Thursday evening Eastern Time. So if you're a regular shortwave listener, hope you'll be able to tune in, and I wish you good reception conditions of the VORW transmissions. And now let's switch over to the YouTube. I have to log into the main account because I'm logged into the VORW one. So give me a minute here, and I'll be right back. All right, and here we go. Here we are. Now we're checking out the YouTube inbox, and we begin. Hi John, I'm a long-time watcher/listener and a first-time writer. I was relieved to hear on the previous VORW that most of the trolls from Reddit had stopped coming to your channel. Anyway, I've been working my way through the extensive catalog of VORWs as a way to calm down from anxiousness that usually works its way in at this time of the school year. I was wondering if you've ever seen the film My Dinner with Andre. I watched it last night and I couldn't help but think of you. It's a film of two men eating dinner and having a philosophical conversation. The character Wally reminded me a lot of you, especially his appreciation to small things in life. If you got time to kill, check it out. On an unrelated note, what are you hoping to receive for Christmas? To participate in the gift-giving tradition. It would really make my brother's Christmas, and I hope this isn't too much to ask, if you can give my friend, an official shout-out. It would really make his day. Thanks and congrats. So first and foremost, thank you for writing, and secondly, I'd like to give Rob's friend, Billy Garbanzo Bean. That's the name provided. I say again, Billy Garbanzo Bean, a very official and formal Report of the Week shout-out here on VORW. So, Mr. Bean, you've been shouted out. Secondly, I saw parts of the film My Dinner with Andre, and it seemed like an interesting film. I just need time to watch it, of which I'll certainly have some. And finally, what am I hoping to receive for Christmas? Nothing. Nothing. Don't want anything. I'm not gonna get anything. That's how it is. They said in the comments, a couple million would be nice, but you can't always get what you want. But I'm not really big into the gift-giving tradition. Just some Christmas cards at most. I'll, get sent out. Thank you very much for writing. Our next letter. Hello. I'm very happy to be writing to you. This will be my second message to you, and I highly recommend bringing back the question you ask in each episode. I wrote in for the first time on the episode where you asked about the immortality, and was pretty disappointed when I heard you were having technical difficulties, and we went so long without a VORW. I'm writing this as I listen to your current VORW. I don't even want to click off the video in fears of messing up the analytics, because I do listen each VORW all the way through, though I usually download them for easier portable listening. I haven't been subscribed too long, but I'm now on episode 87, and I'm more intrigued by you with each episode. You're truly a spectacular human, more rare than 1 in a million, and I feel blessed to have found your channel, and that I'm even able to interact with you in this way. I don't want to go too crazy with this message, but I just hope this channel is around for many years to come. From Ashley. P.S. I wrote to Radio Australia. Hopefully it helps. So thank you very much for that. And hopefully it does help. Hopefully every letter helps. And, well, thank you for your very kind words there. Thank you. Thank you. And, the question, we'll see. Maybe we'll bring it back. Maybe. Maybe we will. We'll have to see, but, if we do, and I mention this, we'll just have to really, we'll just have to enforce the point that, I'm not going to be able to read every response, possibly. But, we'll just have to see. I mean, the questions were fun, so we'll just have to see. I'm not going to discount the questions entirely. I'm not going to do that. So, what I'd say to that is only time will tell. We'll just have to see. Thank you very much for writing, and again, thank you for your kind words and for writing to Radio Australia there. Alright, these two letters aren't for broadcast. This one is, okay. Dear Review Brah, I'm from Northern Canada and have discovered your videos just before the beginning of this winter, and your VORWs have been a perfect companion for these upcoming short, dark, snowy nights. You have the ability to make any topic that you talk about to be interesting, even if I have no prior knowledge about it. It makes for great listening material while I do things like my course readings or other household chores. I was wondering if you have any experience of improv outside of YouTube. I don't mean to make assumptions that your videos are improvised. I'm just speculating on certain reviews that you made, such as last year's purified drinking water versus spring water review. I find it impressive that somebody is able to take something like drinking water and talk about it for 6 minutes. Are all your reviews based purely on objective observations of the product, or would you say that you may also improvise a bit on experience / subjective aspects of what you're reviewing in order to keep it interesting? And I think that's why I enjoy the VORWs as well. It's because you make simple general topics incredibly fascinating to listen to. Would you consider yourself a content creator who has the skills to make good content, or are you just a dude saying what's on his mind? Anyway, thanks for being so great. I'm excited to see more of your videos in the future. Take care. A cold Canadian. Well, thank you for writing. I don't have any improv experience whatsoever. I don't. Now, the videos are all improvised, meaning the only thing that I do beforehand is simply look at, pick the product I'm going to review, maybe find out what's in the product, say like ingredients for a sandwich or what's on the pizza or whatever it may be. And then I go out, I buy it, and I start talking about it on camera. So there's no script, no sort of list of points to cover. I just, I do it as it comes, I'll give a brief introduction that I, come up with on the spot. Then I'll try the product, and I'll give my observations of what I taste and how I've enjoyed the product or how I hate it, and I give some other observations there. And then I give a little wrap-up. I try to throw a few jokes in here and there. And that's how it goes. So the videos are improvised, but that improvisation is based off of some observations I make of the product while I'm consuming it. And I wouldn't consider myself a content creator with any skills to make it. I'm someone who has a camera and a recording device and access to the internet, and here I sit doing food reviews and, talking about random things for 2 hours at a time. But I'm glad you like it, and great to have you listening. Thank you, and thank you for writing. Continuing. Hey, review bro. Been a while since I last wrote in. I've still been watching every video you put out, and I'm really glad the VORW show's continuing on. Definitely my favorite type of video that you make, as I generally love long-form content that I can relax to. I was surprised to see that you put out 2 shows in the span of a week. I guess cutting the amount of emails you read really does help. I was wondering if you ever get tired of some of the fast food chains you review. Even though you try new items all the time, I personally get sick of eating at the same places fairly quickly, and even if I do get different things. Also, in your newest episode, you brought up some points about snow that I never really think of. I absolutely love it when it snows here in New Mexico. It generally brings me happiness. How rare it is probably adds to that, but the practicality of dealing with it isn't something that usually crosses my mind. Never snows much more than an inch, so shoveling isn't something we have to deal with. Anyway, glad you're making VORW again, and I hope things are going good for you. Thank you for writing. Thank you. Taking a sip. Water. And, I don't really get tired of them because there's so much variety, So even if I'm, reviewing just these chains, I can bounce around. So one review I'll do McDonald's, then Popeyes, then Pizza Hut, then Wendy's, Burger King, Taco Bell. Then I'll go over to Steak and Shake, and then we'll go back to McDonald's. So in that whole span, there's so much variety there, it doesn't really ever come to a, come to any sort of issue. Continuing now. Let's see. Hello, how are you doing, review brother? I don't have a lot to say or ask in this message to you, just wanted to write to you. Hope all is well with you, and you're doing fine. One thing I wanted to say is that I like how in these recent VORWs you seem to be outside, and the ambient sounds really make the shows have a uniquely pleasant feel to them. And I have one question. I think I might know the answer to it, though. After seeing the picture of you with the dog, by the pool. I wanted to know if you've broken your moratorium on swimming. If I remember correctly, one of the reasons you don't like swimming is the exposure to the sun, and if that is the case, I might recommend night swimming. And since you like night walking, maybe night swimming would be the logical next step. Just a thought. Take care, my friend. Well, thank you, regular writer. Thank you very much. And I'm glad you like the ambient noise, by the way. That's great. In terms of swimming, I have gone swimming a few times, as a matter of fact, so I guess the moratorium was broken, but it has to be under a very, very strict sense of circumstances. Number one, you absolutely guessed correctly, it needs to be at night, because I hate sunburns. I've been doing pretty good, though, haven't gotten any, so I've been good so far. And number two, really can't be around many people at all. That's why I never even considered going to any water parks. I couldn't live with the fact that I would feel so indecent. I couldn't live with myself. So it has to be under some strict circumstances, but on occasion. It's nothing close to frequent at all, but on occasion, on occasion. And thank you for your message. On to the next. Let's make sure we're recording. I do that every now and then. Good, we are. That's great. Hey, Review Bra. I've wrote in a few times, once about the shortwave in North Korea, and a comment on quite a number of your videos, and I always watch all of them too. I'm one of the 5% that stays till the end of the VORW. I'm glad to hear the volume of trolls is down. I just had a few things to say regarding the last VORW. First, in regards to the analytics, I personally use a VPN, so my location varies depending on where I set it to, so that can lead to inaccurate data. And secondly, regarding Culver's, I'm born and raised in Wisconsin, so I've had my fair share of it. In fact, it's my go-to for a decent meal, and they are everywhere around Madison, which is where I'm from. I personally like to mix it up, being that I go so often, but my staples are always the double bacon deluxe butter burger, the Reuben sandwich, or cod filet basket. Always go for the cheese curds. Well, one thing to be aware of is they do put mayo on the burgers. Now, I always order mine without, and then finish off with a delicious frozen custard sundae, or occasionally order a chocolate malt. Anyway, hope this correspondence finds you well. Take care next time. Sincerely, Ryan. Ryan, thank you. Thank you for writing. And thank you very much for the suggestion, by the way, with the Culver's. Of those items, if I ever find myself at Culver's, I'm definitely going to go with that double bacon deluxe butter burger. That's very interesting sounding. I'm going to keep that in mind. And if I ever get a chance to go, that's what I'm going to review. That's going to be it right there. So if you ever see a review from Culver's and that's what I'm reviewing, you can give yourself a little pat on the back and know that you're responsible for it. So thank you for that. Sounds like a good burger. I'm actually interested to trying that out. And thank you for the other meal ideas as well. Reuben sandwiches are always pretty good. And the cheese curds, that's interesting. That would be an interesting choice. And chocolate malt or the frozen custard sundae, both of those. I mean, it sounds good. Sounds like a good place. Thank you very much, and great to hear you're part of the 5% as well. So thank you. Let me do a quick check of what we have left. Again, the volume of letters in this program was manageable. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. 2 left. 2 letters left. That'll be perfectly fine. Hey, Review Bra. Wanted to thank you for inspiring me. I'm a college student, and I had a class this last semester where I had to write a paper about some kind of obsolete technology and its impact on the world. Inspired by your lectures, I wrote a 12-page essay on the history, impact, and lasting importance of shortwave radio. I wrote about how shortwave rose to popularity, why it's in decline, and why losing it would cause great harm to the world. I'm fairly happy with how the paper came out, and I got an A, so I guess the professor was happy with it too. I also had to present the main ideas of the essay in front of the class, so naturally I dressed up review bra style. If you're interested in the paper, I can send it to you. I'm sure you already know the vast majority of what I had to say. I'm certain you'll think of things that I missed. I'm not sure you would want to take the time to read it, but if you're interested, let me know. Anyway, thanks for the awesome content you make. Keep on keeping on. Sincerely, Thomas. Thomas, thank you for writing. And that's awesome, really, that you actually wrote a 12-page essay on shortwave radio. That's crazy, but I'm glad it was well received by the professor. That's always great. Glad it got a good grade, and I'm sure it's a good work too. I might be interested in checking it out myself. So if I am, I'll send you a reply via YouTube and go from there. Thank you very much for writing, and I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that you dressed up review bra style as well. So thank you. And finally, a le bras. I hope you would consider selling review bra t-shirts. Some could even be absurd, like you wearing a fur coat with a lot of bling, and it could say Big Pimpin'. Hope you have a good weekend, from Mark. Mark, thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. I don't know if I'll go that far with that, but thank you nonetheless. And again, thank you for the suggestion. I wonder if that would be a bestseller, though. If that'd make me a tycoon in the fashion industry if we listed that product. Who's to say, right? Thank you very much to that suggestion. Anyway, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. That's all we got. I know this VORW show wasn't the longest in the world, but not to worry. Maybe there'll be a longer show next week, because next week I can guarantee you there will be another program. And also keep in mind, on December 22nd, 7490 kilohertz, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. And hey, if shortwave conditions are bad, you can't really hear it, you can listen digitally. And of course, there's always next week as well for the shortwave broadcasts. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to write in, you have one of 3 ways to do so. YouTube.com/user/support of the week. Click on the About tab, send message, type the contents of your message, and, well, send it off. If you're more interested in emailing me, email me at repweekinterview1@gmail.com, repweekinterview1@gmail.com, or vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. I figure, for the heck of it, to close off this VORW, how about we look at the analytics? Why not, right? And let's just check the audience retention. I mean, they're not going to be fully, updated yet, but let's just check and see what percentage of people made it to the end of this VORW. Let's see. The statistics are essentially the same. Started off 100%. By 1 minute and 42%, only 32% of the people were watching. Though people listened a little longer, by 32 minutes in, 17% of the people were watching still. By 1 hour and 21 minutes, 13%. That steadily declined there until the very end. 2 hours, 48 minutes in, 7.3% were listening. So I guess good news, now the people are now part of the 7.3% instead of the 5%. So good news there. And, well, real or not, the longest watchers are from Latvia and Switzerland, and the countries allegedly which had the fewest listeners are Iraq and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which always sounds like the name of an indie rock band to me, but that's nothing against that country, and I'm sure it's a fine place. And that's what we have. No matter, though, if you've listened, and it's great to have you listening. And with that being said, we conclude this broadcast. And I guess that's all that I have. Hope you have a great week. Oh my goodness, when is the next show probably going to be? I guess it's going to be Christmas. Wow, a week away from Christmas. Who would have guessed, huh? Who would have guessed? That's crazy. So, hey, next show, it'll be a Christmas spectacular, I suppose. And, hey, maybe you'll get a Christmas blowout, too, in terms of reviews. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hope we have you here next week as well. Hope we have you listening. And if shortwave's your kind of thing, I've said so many times now, I don't need to repeat myself. You know what time and frequency we can be heard on every Thursday. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. Have a very Merry Christmas. And I wish you all the very best. Until next time, folks, take care and have a good one. VORW Show 134 concluded. This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing off.